In a world where inflation is rising at double digits in many major economies around the world, inflation is coming down in America. In fact, this new report is the fifth month in a row where annual inflation has fallen in the United States.
President Joe Biden took a victory lap today with a pretty darn good story to tell about the economy. Remember, going into the midterms, this was the big Achilles heel, right? Inflation was high, people didn't like it, and it was true. Inflation was high, and people didn't and don't like it. Democrats still prevailed. And a part of that has to do with the fact the economy really is moving in an encouraging direction in a whole lot of different ways. Inflation went down more than expected in November. Gas prices are the lowest since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Unemployment is holding steady at a very low 3.7%. Inequality in the U.S. declined this year. According to Federal Reserve estimates, the collective net worth of the poorest half of American households almost doubled in the last 2 years. That's after trillions of dollars in COVID relief money and higher wages for people in lower wage jobs like restaurants and retail, bolstered by a tight job market and a resurgent labor movement. Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent from Vermont, helped make the problem of inequality a part of national discourse, and he chairs the Budget Committee. He's in line to become the new chair of the Committee of Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, and he joins me now. You know, Senator, it strikes me that there is a story progressives can tell about this economy that is there for the telling if they choose it, that is a kind of counter to the story Republicans and conservatives really rush to tell, particularly about the Reagan economy in 80 to 84 as this kind of look what happens when you listen to us sort of situation. We're due all the credit for it. And I wonder if you see it that way as well.
Well, I think there is some very good news. Inflation is causing a lot of pain in this country. Very good news that it's going down. We're seeing some really good job growth, especially, Chris, in areas like manufacturing, where we have seen significant declines in manufacturing jobs for many, many years. And I think as a result, by the way, of many federal programs, we're putting more cash into the pockets of working people. But having said all of that, I think in the Congress and in the media, we don't do a good enough job in talking about the reality of life for working people. 60% of our people today, including many seniors, are living paycheck to paycheck. And at the same time, we see more income and wealth inequality, and it's good to see we're making some progress in that area, but we have more income and wealth inequality than we've had in 100 years. We have more concentration of ownership in sector after sector, as you well know. Handful of corporations who are enjoying record-breaking profits, by the way, control what we purchase in our stores, whether it's oil, whether it's food, whether it's pharmaceuticals, whether it's media, whether it's Wall Street. Increased concentration of ownership. And then when you look at the power of the billionaire class, and you talked about this a moment ago, in terms of politics, it's a record-breaking amount of money, unbelievable amounts of money that billionaires are pouring in dark money and not dark money into the political process. So we've got to pay attention to those issues.
Let me ask you, I want to ask a question about the labor market and organized labor, but let me just follow up on that. I thought it was so fascinating. So all these headlines about Sam Bankman-Fried giving all this money to Democrats, which he did. He gave a lot of money through an allied super PAC. That was all money that was traceable. And then he gives an interview. He says, well, actually, you know, I gave just as much to Republicans. I just gave it kind of under the table through these dark money vehicles, thanks to Citizens United. No one really noticed. And what an object lesson in how this can work up on Capitol Hill.
Absolutely. Let's not kid ourselves. It is, you know, we talk about Trump and his friends being a threat to democracy. The other threat to democracy is Citizens United and the ability of billionaires through dark money and sometimes not dark money to buy politicians and buy elections. The bottom line of all of this is that we need to see an increased grassroots movement. And by the way, very good news is we are seeing a growth in the trade union movement. More and more workers are wanting to join unions, stand up for collective bargaining at decent wages and working conditions. Just this afternoon, I was at a rally with rail workers who showed enormous courage in standing up to their industry, made $20 billion in profit last year, and yet they cannot give these guys one paid sick leave a year, not one, which is just horrific. So what we have got to do, and I hope to do as chairman of the Health, Education, and Labor Committee, is tell the people who run Starbucks, tell the people, Bezos and others who run Amazon, you know what? Stop the illegal anti-union activity. Workers have the right to organize.
Let me follow up on that. There has been this incredible bout of union organizing we've seen. I think the tight labor market has helped quite a bit. It's given some worker power, incredible organizing efforts. What are simple, straightforward things that the government can do to untip the balance of the scales as unions do try to organize?
Well, one of the things we must do is pass what's called the PRO Act, which would demand an end to illegal behavior on the part of corporations who drag workers into back rooms to propagandize them against workers, who stall out, as Starbucks is doing right now, a first contract. You could stall and stall and stall. And that's what the PRO Act would do. Second of all, I think the Biden administration, I think those of us in Congress, have got to tell people like Howard Schultz at Starbucks, Jeff Bezos at Amazon, their behavior is not going to be tolerated. You ask what the federal government can do? Well, if you are a corporation that receives a federal contract and you engage in anti-union, illegal anti-union activity, you know what? You're going to lose that contract. That will wake up some of these corporations to treating their workers with respect. So those are a few of the things that I think we can do.
Senator Bernie Sanders, who will be chairing the HELP committee very shortly. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.